Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning if you're still on the West Coast. This is Welcome to 5 Minute with Germanna. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about archaeology and artifacts specifically. But first I wanted to thank people. We've received some response to our last week's video and talking about raising a little bit of funds for helping support the summer field season. Thanks to those who have responded to that. We are very grateful for your support and your help. Otherwise, we hope you're all doing well. We're having an exciting time. We thought we'd try and go live today. And I have one question that I get a lot, and over my whole career. People have always asked, what's the best artifact that you've ever found? And I always feel sometimes I disappoint them. It's never anything that's the biggest. It's not anything that's the shiniest. Sometimes it's things that are rather mundane or things that you don't think about very often. And that's my example today. I wanted to share with you an object that I found really exciting, and that one that has made me think a lot about the past here at Germanna in a lot of different ways. So I have it here right with me. We typically find animal bone on archaeology sites. Here's an example of a cow's rib, and you can actually see some of the butcher marks on the rib. That was a piece that we found. This is left over from people preparing their dinners, their meals, their food systems. We find evidence of that. Well, a couple years ago in 2018, we actually found one piece that I found really exciting, really unusual. It's this little tip here. And I don't know if you can see, but the end of it is sawn very, very flat. That's intentionally sawn through. What this is this is the tip. It's the bone portion of a cow's horn. It's called a horn core. And I've got a little drawing over here of a cow's skull. And the bone sits inside of the horn, and the horn sits over top of that bone. And what we've got is just this little piece here, the tip. That's what we're talking about today. The horn is also present on the outside, much like your fingernails are. That horn is material that often gets used for creating things like buttons and powder horns, that sort of thing. So when we find this particular object, it makes me think about how did it get there? What is this a product of? Is this a product of them butchering an animal and then recovering materials, and perhaps someone coming along, a craftsman or something, sawing this piece off and recovering the horn to be able to create new materials out of? Or there's one other possible explanation. In animal husbandry, sometimes, and I have a picture of this from the 18th century, a sort of a political cartoon of them sawing the tips of a cow or bull's horns, or probably an oxen's horns. They do that, especially if you're working animals together in a team, so that they may not hurt each other or the people who are working with them. So this particular object, all of a sudden, there's a question as to, how did this come to be found out at the site, next to the Enchanted Castle, or maybe even part of the earlier fort time? And then there's all new questions about that. What was taking care of animals like? What was animal husbandry like at that time? Typically, the people at Jamestown, when they were bringing their animals in, they would just set their animals free and then recover them as they need them. The animals would take care of themselves, foraging in the forest until they were needed. The sawn tip here, if this is part of animal husbandry, that suggests a whole different relationship with the animals than was present with the earliest settlers. So that's just a quick example of how artifacts can make us think and ask bigger questions about the site that we're looking at. So with that, I'm going to prove a point that I can actually come in at or about 5 minutes. So that's it for today. Thank you all very much. Hope you all are doing well, and we hope to see you again next week for 5 Minutes with Germanna. Thank you.